Hello music fans, you're watching Death by Unicorn, where we talk about metal, rock, and prog music, and this is New Music's Alive in 2025. I'm going to talk about 6 new albums that came out over the past week, and talk about them in my order of preference, starting with the Reticent and their album Please. This is the 5th album by this American progressive metal band. It's progressive death metal. They've got some spoken word narration here, experimental rock, acoustic, and post metal influences. And this one is a near masterpiece. The Reticent has made something very dark, somber, serious, intense, and heavy. It's a concept album about suicide and mental illness. And most of the album is clean vocals. There are some harsh vocals on here as well. The scorn reminded me a lot of Opeth. The growls and the music of that track really sounded a lot like Opeth, which I really love. So the Reticent is a band that this, I believe, is my first album of theirs that I heard. And immediately upon hearing this, I thought this is a band I could really get into. They did the concept really well. So I went back and I checked out a bunch of their older stuff so far, just the 3 albums before this. I was hoping maybe some of their older stuff from the past would be a little bit less depressing than this new one and more fun, because definitely if their whole discography is this sad, it could become a bit one note. But so far, everything I've heard from them is very dark. It's existential. It's sad. It's depressive. It's disturbing, somber, introspective. They're all concept albums. They're all amazing, though. Like their previous album, The Oubliette from 2020, it's another dark concept album. That one's about a man named Henry with Alzheimer's / maybe dementia. It's also excellent but depressing. And yeah, I think I'll probably check out all their past stuff, because I think this is another band I've got to add to my growing list of favorite bands here. This is a strong contender for being in my top 30 albums of the year. The spoken word and the intensity of the negative subject matter, though, they both make it great for making its artistic statement, but they also hold it back from being something that I'd want to listen to often. But if that sounds good to you, if you're in that headspace, or if you're prepared for that, then definitely check out Please by the Reticent. It's amazingly impressive and beautiful, while also being dark at the same time. Next up, I've got Stellar Circuits and their album Phantom Phoenix, the 3rd album by this American progressive metal band. They've got some alternative metal, gent, and metalcore influences. And this one I'm putting in my excellent tier. I thought the last album by Stellar Circuits, Sight to Sound, in 2023 was excellent. And this album continues that sound and that excellence. There's some harsh vocals, but it's mostly clean vocals here. Clean vocals can sound a bit emo at times. Most of the melodies are catchy and solid. The guitar riffs are nice and fast. Same Page is a great track that I enjoy, probably my favorite right now. And if you're a fan of bands like Monuments and Era, check this out. It's not quite as genty as those 2 bands, but it's similar in that it's a little bit progressive, a little bit genty, but a little bit metalcore, but supremely catchy and well done. That's Phantom Phoenix by Stellar Circuits. Next up, I've got Myth of Logic and their album The Memory of After, the 4th album by this American project. It's neo-progressive rock with arena rock influences. I'm putting this one in my very good tier. This project, Myth of Logic, is the creative vehicle of Scott G. Davis. It's for fans of Emerson, Lake and Palmer, Rush, Kansas, and Styx. And I thought his last album was very good, and the single I heard ahead of time for this one, called An Empath in Exile, had some great keyboards on it. So I was excited to hear this album, and the whole album has really well done keyboards and bass in particular. I'm not as sold on the vocals on the album, but they are decent enough. The saxophone solo on The Sky is Falling is great. And the album starts with a 14.5-minute prog epic called Keep a Silent Watch. And it ends with two prog epics, the 15-minute long Mercy Paradox and the almost 20-minute long track, The Skeleton Flower. All of the epics are very good, and Mercy Paradox in particular has some great guitar on it. It's probably my favorite at the moment. If that sounds good, check out The Memory of After by Myth of Logic. Next up in my very good tier, I've got The Devil Wears Prada with their album Flowers, the 9th album by this American band. This one's melodic metalcore with post-hardcore, alternative metal, and even some pop influences in here. The Devil Wears Prada has gone very poppy sounding here compared to their other releases from the past, which I'm not always a fan of when it comes to metalcore, but this is very catchy and well done, and they've always kind of had hints of that in their music, even when they were heavier. I do like this better than their last two full-length albums, Color Decay and The Act. It's pretty well on par in quality with 818 and Transit Blues for me, but it doesn't quite reach the heights of their 2006 to 2011 period of output for me, which is my favorite period of the band. But if you're a fan of The Devil Wears Prada, and particularly a fan of their newer sound, I think you'll like Flowers, so check it out. And next up is a similar one. It's Of Mice and Men with Another Miracle, another melodic metalcore band with post-hardcore and alternative metal influences. And this one's also the 9th album, and they're also an American band. So kind of a similar stage in their career as The Devil Wears Prada. And this is just solid melodic metalcore. It starts with the song called A Waltz, which is a heavy metalcore song in 3/4 waltz time, which you don't hear too often. And the rest of the album continues with nice melodic clean vocal choruses and heavy harsh vocal verses, as you typically hear in mid-2000s metalcore. So this one's kind of a throwback to the mid-2000s style of metalcore, like earlier Killswitch Engage, Atreyu, Bullet for My Valentine, and The Devil Wears Prada, but they've got more modern sounds in there as well. So Of Mice and Men, they're not doing anything too innovative here or mind-blowing. They're not going to make my year-end list with this, but it's just a solid metalcore album that I'm putting in my very good tier. And I just keep checking this band's new stuff out because I really enjoyed their sophomore album, The Flood, which I think is also very good. But none of their albums or their other stuff are really quite, none of the other stuff they made besides The Flood has lived up to that for me. And maybe it's just me and what I was into at that time in 2011 when that came out versus what I'm more into now. But if you like that kind of melodic metalcore sound, here's another band that's just doing that sound really well, Of Mice and Men with Another Miracle. And last on my list today, also in my very good tier, there weren't really, like everything's been really strong. I don't really listen to music that I think is bad because I'll just turn it off and find something else. So everything I talk about is pretty solid on this channel. Every now and then I'll talk about a stinker, but I like recommending good stuff. This is Steve Blanco with Imprints of Man, the 3rd album by this American artist. And it's classical solo piano with jazz and some black metal and death metal influences. So why do I say that? Because Steve Blanco is from the band Imperial Triumphant, and this is him on solo piano performing music by his band Imperial Triumphant. So that's a metal band. But when you hear it on solo piano, it sounds very different. So I heard the opening track, Mercurius Gilded, ahead of time, and it's just amazing to hear this Imperial Triumphant music on solo piano. You can hear how interesting the chords are, the melodies and the harmonies. Very interesting, very jazzy, very technical, dissonant and dark, but beautiful. And the whole album continues like this with very great piano playing of these very dense, very intricate and jazzy arrangements of these Imperial Triumphant songs. And it's really funny to imagine that this is a piano medley of a metal album when you're listening to it, because it really does sound like a jazz solo piano album with classical moments, or it could be an intense film score. So solo piano albums, they aren't usually my thing, but this is up there as one of the best that I've heard in that solo piano style. The only people who come to mind that could do better for me are people like Jordan Rudess, Rick Wakeman, and Tigran Hamasyan, who are some of the greatest keyboard players and piano players out there. But if you like those guys, I think you should check this out. This is a very jazzy, dissonant, evil kind of version of that. So if that sounds good to you, check out Steve Blanco and Imprints of Man. And that's it for my first impressions on these 6 new albums. What do you think of these albums? Let me know down in the comments. And did anything else come out recently that you think I might enjoy? Also let me know. And if you like metal, rock, and prog music, you've come to the right place. I talk about my first impressions on new releases weekly. At the end of every month, I give my top 10 of that month. And I talk about stuff that I plan to listen to next month. And every now and then, sprinkled in there, I'll make a random video about older classics, not from this year. But mostly I've been focusing on new music from this year when I make videos. And in my next video in this series, I'll be giving my first impressions on new music from Spock's Beard, Snarky Puppy, and their collaboration with the Metropole Orchestra and the band Eons. So if you're excited to hear about those, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and stay in the loop on when I post new videos. And peace out.